What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Legends of Zegen, and I am here with another awesome human being. This guy is up to a lot of big things, and he is 100% legendary. You guys are about to find out why, but I am joined in the studio today with my good friend, Cory Skaaren. Cory, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. Now, let's all celebrate because this is actually your official first podcast, right?
That is correct. I've never been on a podcast before.
That's wild, and you have such a good podcast voice, too.
Well, we'll see how long it lasts.
First of many, I think. Now, I really wanted to have you on the podcast, Cory, because as you're aware, I love to interview people with really cool stories, people who are out there doing big things in life, and people who are just trying to do better than the status quo. And you are 100% doing that in so many ways. So I'm going to list off some of Cory's accomplishments here, just off the top of my brain. And then, Cory, you can correct me or add on as you see fit. But Cory is an entrepreneur, and he is the owner-president of a business called Resketch. Resketch is a notebook company. We'll get into it. It's way more than just a notebook company. Additionally, Cory is an entrepreneur where he runs a design studio as well. Skaaren Designs, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then additionally, he is also the president of AIGA, which is an acronym that means...
The American Institute of Graphic Arts, but I'm the president of the Arizona chapter.
Yes.
Of a national organization. Yeah.
You're still the president.
Still the president.
All right, cue up the presidential music. Now... So, Cory, I was fascinated. We got to sit down and actually talk a little bit about what I find is one of the most interesting things about you is the story and the journey of Resketch, which is the notebook company. So give us a little bit of the elevator pitch or the highlights about what Resketch is.
Well, Resketch is a notebook company, the only notebook company in the world that makes notebooks out of rescued and reclaimed paper. And we've been making notebooks out of rescued and reclaimed paper for about 12 years.
That's insane. Because rescued and reclaimed paper, we're talking about any type of paper.
We are talking about any kind of paper as long as it is unused and unwanted. I think there is some confusion. Some people, when they hear reclaimed, they default to recycled. And then some people think that we just take like paper donations, like we go around the country looking for people to give us free paper. And that is not exactly the case. Obviously people donate the paper to us, but we only want unused and unwanted paper. If you have a purpose for it and you can use it, keep it and use it. Put it to good use. We just want the paper that's headed to the waste stream. And that's where the rescuing part comes in. We want to rescue paper from the waste stream.
I love that. It's such a cool concept because when you think about a notebook, I think about just a traditional moleskin lined or no lines, just a pad of paper type of thing. But you guys have really taken it to a very interesting level because, as I'm aware, the notebooks are essentially each individual page on that notebook is a different type, style, piece of paper. Is that correct?
That's right. Every notebook, just because of how it's produced, is different. It would almost be statistically impossible for two notebooks to be alike. And if you haven't experienced a Resketch notebook, it's probably a little hard to maybe imagine that in your head. But yeah, we collect all this random paper, and we obviously sort it, cut it down into our various notebook sizes, and then we randomize the paper as we put it into the notebook. So the notebooks have 6 basic types of paper inside them, but inside those categories, there's going to be an infinite number of types of paper, right? So if we have colored paper, well, there's an infinite number of colors, right? Lined or gridded paper, there could be different lines, different grids, dot matrix, whatever. So every notebook is literally different.
That's so cool. And I actually have one here. So for those of you who are listening, sorry, go check out the YouTube channel. But really what it is it's a traditional binded notebook. And what are these rings called?
00 spiral.
00 spiral. And it's the neat thing about this notebook is you pick it up and it's got, I don't know what it is. It's just got a special quality to it. It feels heavy. It's very tactile. The cover is, this must be like some type of cardboard. on the cover?
Yeah, it's the thickest cardboard we can get our hands on.
Okay.
And then we letterpress our logo discreetly down in the corner. And then we letterpress our name discreetly on the back.
And it's very minimal, which I love, right? So if you're somebody who wants to add stickers to it right on the front, so you can, I guess, maybe identify what this notebook is, but the magic is really inside of the notebook, because it's got a really cool like cover page, right?
We call it a book plate.
Book plate. I love this. I'm learning all these awesome notebook terms, and it really gives you an opportunity to write down some of your information here. So it says this notebook belongs to overall theme herein, the date started, the date finished, and if found, contact or sent to. That's actually a really clever idea. I love that. And do you know, have you heard of anybody actually, like, are there any stories of people like, oh, actually somebody mailed me back my Resketch book?
No.
Okay.
But someone sent us a notebook once. They ripped out that page, and on the back they wrote us a thank you letter, and then they said, if found, send to Resketch. And we got that in the mail just a couple of months ago. It was kind of our first fan letter, which seems crazy because we've been around for so long.
Yes.
But it was a nice way of them saying, like, hey, this is a great notebook. Thank you. This is how I use the notebook. I ripped out this page, sent it back to you, because they know we appreciate the tactile, the analog, you know. So it was a nice thing to get.
It's really, that's a cool story. And I love that you actually got some fan mail of your own product back to you. Now, again, it's really neat, and hopefully you guys can see this, but it's literally every single page is a different color. There's, again, like this page here, and I'm showing you. So it's a blank front white page, but on the back of it, or on the next page, is actually, it looks like a blueprint.
It's a blueprint, yeah.
It is a legitimate blueprint, which it's just cool. Like, it's like it appeases to my undiagnosed ADD of just being able to go in and every single page is unique, except the fact that there's 25% white paper in here.
We do have an algorithm, because we do, obviously, our goal is not to make the most eclectic notebook on the planet. Our goal is to make usable notebooks. So we do have 6 categories of paper. Each category has a percentage based on page count, because obviously you're holding the 7x9 brown spiral bound, but we also make obviously other sizes of notebooks. So the percentages break down based on the page count in each notebook. But we do have like 25% of that notebook is white paper.
Got it.
25% of it is neutral paper, which would be creams, browns, and grays. And then the other 50% is broken down by lines and grids, you know, weird, more esoteric stuff like blueprints and maps and things like that.
That's so cool. I love it. Now, I see that you'll either get a blueprint page or you'll get a map page.
You could get both technically.
Okay.
I mean, there's no guarantee. You know, I mean, one of the funny things that we see is when people meet us in person, whether it be at a trade show or a retail location, they'll go through all of the notebooks on the table to look for the right mix of paper. You know, we'll have people say, like, my favorite color is purple, so they're looking for a lot of purple paper. Or, you know, I like the map pages, so they're looking for one with a map page in it, or whatever, or multiple map pages. So everyone kind of has their own persnickety thing that they want inside their notebook, which is kind of cool.
That is really cool. It is such a cool concept, and again, it's the target market, or at least from what we kind of discussed, is really geared towards designers or artists.
Yeah,
yes?
we decided when we rebranded and relaunched the company 3 years ago that we were going to make notebooks for creative builders. We don't care what you create. We don't care what you build. You could be a cabinet maker. You could be a graphic designer. You could be an architect. It doesn't really matter to us. You could be a carpenter. We just want to be where people create and build things.
I like that, because it's you have a niche, right, of people that you're marketing to, or you want to have this book. But also, I mean, this book could work for anybody. It's not just for creative designers or creative builders. But that is a really cool niche to have, and definitely a market. I'm really also fascinated by the origin story of Resketch, and I'd love to have you share a little bit about the origin story.
Yeah, Resketch was born in Chicago with a man named Sean Smith, a brilliant artist in Chicago. And he was the one who really kind of pioneered the idea of, and the realization that there was no secondary market for paper. And there's a lot of stories that you could tell about that, but ultimately, to kind of encapsulate it simply, is imagine a printer who orders a certain kind of paper for a print job. Now, maybe that job gets canceled, or maybe that job that has leftover paper, like they have extra sheets. Well, that paper just sits there, and the chances of another client coming in and needing that paper or wanting that paper for their job also is probably pretty rare. So there's that kind of leftover or unwanted paper. There's businesses that go out of business. There's companies that have letterhead and their address changes, or their, whatever. So there's all kinds of ways paper becomes abandoned and becomes unwanted. In the case of Resketch, there was a place in Chicago called the Wayshed, and there was a tremendous amount of unwanted paper there. Sean bought all that paper, not knowing what he was going to do with it. And eventually he kind of stumbled across, I believe it was the French paper swatch books. And he realized that these paper companies were making these swatch books with all of their various kinds of paper, highlighted in like one kind of catalog. And he's like, man, why couldn't this just be a notebook? And he launched Resketch.
Phenomenal. And that was the original name, was Resketch, correct?
The original name was Resketch, and it just became, stories vary, but I think it was literally just like, let's just do this and get rid of the paper we have, right? And then I think it obviously became something to a lot of people. It really did like become something that people liked, and then people started, hey, I've got paper. Will you take my paper? So it just kind of it literally organically happened and grew without a real like business plan.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That this idea just kind of stemmed out of nowhere, because it's such a unique idea too. It's one of those things where you're always thinking of like that $1 million idea, and this is it. Now I'm just assuming that you guys are doing pretty well from a revenue perspective, but even if it's not like $1 million, but just the idea is so unique. And again, it's something that can be continually reproduced, but in a difficult way, right? I mean, the process to make these is not like a traditional notebook. Talk about that.
No, yeah, we do have some like non-traditional hurdles that a traditional notebook company would not have. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, we cannot make a notebook until we rescue the right amount of paper. We also hold ourselves to a kind of higher standard in terms of the different types of paper. We wouldn't and never have made a notebook with just like orange and blue paper, right? We like to have the 6 categories of paper that we feel kind of define the brand of what Resketch is. So we have to go out there, find all that paper, collect it, store it, manicure it, and then make sure we have enough of it just to meet the demand of who buys a Resketch notebook. So all of that, is kind of just something on top of just the business of running a notebook company.
Yeah. Wow. That's such an additional thing, but it to me, it's like, it's almost bespoke or very luxury. Like when I think about this notebook from a notebook perspective, I think about like a traditional notebook just being a Honda, but this baby right here, this is like a Bugatti. Almost, it's not hand stitched,
No,
or like a Lamborghini, but it's so, it's so unique. Every single one is different, right? Every single one is unique in that realm, and it's just, to me, that's what makes it so cool and so special. And the fact that you guys have, continuously innovated on this product, because I mean, this is the OG version, correct? Or the OG size, I should say.
Yeah, that is the 7x9 notebook. It's our best-selling notebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the most paper in it.
Okay.
It's got the largest sheet that we have,
Okay.
7x9. And it is the notebook size that Resketch launched with. And a little bit of trivia is it's the size of the original iPad.
That's cool.
'Cause
That's
we had to pick we had to pick a size. We didn't want it to be 8.5 by 11 because we always have to cut our paper down. That's another thing that we have to keep in mind is some of our notebook sizes are slightly different than traditional notebook sizes because when we get paper, we want to get the most out of the paper.
yeah.
So we kind of choose notebook sizes. So we're like, oh, we can get 2 sheets out of this 1 sheet. Therefore, we can get more use out of the paper, right? So 7 by 9, it had to be smaller than 8.5 by 11. And it was really Sean, not me. I had nothing to do with the original sizes. But he told me that it was the iPad had just come out around the time he was like percolating this and doing the prototypes. And he's like, iPad seems popular. Let's just make it the size of the iPad.
It's so cool. It's a clever piece of trivia too, because it's like this seems like such a perfect size for portability, and of course you guys have the other sizes, right? Smaller sizes.
Yep.
And certainly while you're listening to the podcast or watching it, go visit the website right now and just as you're listening, peruse through. The website is
resketchbrand.com.
Okay. Yeah, go check it out while you guys are listening to this because it's fascinating to me the different sizes that you guys have and just the website is really well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Great job to you guys on building something that's not just a product but also it's an experience. Like it's fun to go through and I'm just like, oh man, like which notebook am I gonna pick? Because you guys don't just have notebooks either. You've got other accessories and products.
We do. I mean, we pride ourselves on once we get paper. Mm-hmm. We inevitably end up with scraps of varying sizes because we get sheets of varying sizes. Mm-hmm. We get everything from 8.5 by 11 reamed paper, which might be kind of the most common that gets given to us. And then we get everything from like large blueprint rolls to 24 by 36 parent sheets from printers and everything in between. So including old notebooks, by the way.
Okay.
We get a lot of notebooks donated to us, like old composition notebooks that have never been used from colleges and or parents, who have like, I have a closet of 40 composition notebooks my kids didn't use. Will you please take them off my hands? So it's ironic that we kind of cannibalize other notebooks and turn them into notebooks, but that's what we do. And those are all different sizes, and we end up with these scraps. And we work really hard to create products that make use of those scraps. Mm-hmm. So we make little 3-inch by 3-inch cubes of paper. They're little Post-it notes. We make desk pads. We make index cards. So, there's varying sizes. We call it like reclaimed stationery, basically, stationery products. So, yeah, we use every part of the buffalo.
It's amazing, too. And to that point, I love that you segued there because this is an extremely like zero waste, sustainable idea company.
Yeah.
And was that, I mean, obviously that wasn't necessarily the intent originally. It just, maybe it was a little bit because of course you're just like, hey, we've got all this paper. What can we do with it? Let's repurpose it. Let's reuse it. But that stemmed a bigger idea around like, hey, let's use as much of the paper as we possibly can to keep it out of, the trash or.
Yeah, we saw the hypocrisy. First of all, I've been a designer for over 30 some odd years and mainly in the print industry. So I've done a lot of publication design and branding and things like that. So in my career, I have literally printed probably millions of magazines and God knows how many sheets of letterhead and business cards and whatnot. Now, all of that stuff ended up in the trash eventually. It was used, like, hopefully they used the letterheads and things like that. But there's a guilt involved there. Creativity takes materials, mm-hmm. right? So definitely we try to keep as much stuff out of the waste stream as possible because we want to make creativity sustainable, as sustainable as humanly possible. So, yeah, we rescue about, on average, it really depends on how many notebooks we sell and how much space we have in our warehouse, but we rescue about 8 to 10 tons of paper a year, which if you wanted to visualize that, it's about your standard semi-trailer full of paper.
Wow.
And we just kind of see it as madness because like when you recycle paper, it just gets recycled into more paper. But when you haven't even used the paper yet, it seems really silly to take that unused paper and go through the chemically intensive process of recycling recycling is well-intentioned and it's better than nothing, but it's not great for the environment overall, especially when it comes to paper. So, it's very chemically water intensive, it's just not great. So it just seems like madness to us to take all this unused paper, run it through the recycling process just to make more paper. Why don't we just use the paper that we made in the first place? And that's where it started from. But then we started to realize that there are types of paper like blueprints that did have a functioning purpose in life. They were turned into blueprints, but blueprints are often one-sided, right? Yes. So it's like, well, wait, that paper, even though it has been used for this purpose, it can be reused again. We can get kind of like one more puff of the cigar before we snuff it out, right? So then we started integrating other more traditional, non-traditional paper into the notebooks because we thought, hey, that's still usable. And the great thing about Resketch is that it does spur creativity, right?
Yes.
Your brain does adapt to the different surfaces, the different colors, the different lines and grids, and you will find a use for every page, even a blueprint page. You might have to write on a blueprint page with like a thicker marker, or maybe you tape something onto that page. I don't know. But ultimately, the paper does get used, and we feel pretty good about that. So that, by our measure, makes us the most sustainable notebook in the world because we don't even use reclaimed paper. We're saving the paper from having to be recycled.
Yes.
So, and then all of the materials that the notebooks are made are zero waste. So everything, once this notebook has been used, everything can go back into the, zero waste.
Yeah, I love that. And it's all, everything has been so intentional in this, sustainable model. And even we were talking about this yesterday and I didn't even think about it, but even these, they were called double O rings?
Double O spiral bound, yeah.
Double O.
These are metal.
These
spiral.
are metal,
yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm just like, okay, it's nice because then it feels more quality. But to that point, it's not plastic.
It's not plastic.
Which is so cool and such a minute thing that you wouldn't think about. But this is eventually either, I mean, this would be better for the environment, essentially, more so than plastic. This will eventually break down.
Or it can be recycled.
Or it could be recycled.
Metal has a very high recycling factor. Yeah.
So, I mean, just the fact that you guys have really thought of everything, created something so just awesome. I mean, legendary. to be fair, it's such a cool brand. Again, it's so minimal, and I'm beyond pleased that you're a local Arizona company too. I mean, you guys are global, correct? You ship all over the world.
We can, yeah, we do, but I would say 90% of, I mean, we're obviously located in Phoenix, and the paper is sourced all over the United States. It's a little too expensive to source paper from other countries because now you're shipping paper into the country.
Yeah,
we don't really need to do that. We got plenty of paper here. So the paper is sourced from all over the United States, but it's all manufactured. It's all stored and manufactured here in Phoenix.
I love that. Yes. And let's just briefly talk about the actual paper. And I'm fascinated because, again, you missed out on the most amazing breakfast meetup. I got to meet Cory for the first time yesterday, and we literally sat down and had a semblance of this same conversation yesterday. And it was mind-blowing to me just because I never imagined talking about paper and notebooks would be so fascinating. But you were kind of waxing poetic a bit about the history of paper and just the idea that, ideas have been around since, the dawn of man. And where did these ideas come from, or where were they written down, because they had to be written down somewhere. And so just wax a little bit more poetic on that.
Well, yeah, we do have a romantic vision of what a notebook is. Obviously, we eat, sleep, and breathe notebooks. So it's hard not to gain like a romantic vision of what they are. And if you go far enough back and take it seriously enough, it really is the world's first operating system, right? Before notebooks, information was hard to organize. It was like scrolls, single sheets of parchment, and things like that. It was kind of like taking all of this stuff and collecting it into a book that made complex information a little bit more accessible, right? So notebooks kind of gave rise to the banking industry and all this more complex thought because of organized paper, right? So we call it the world's first operating system. And I'm sure we're not the ones to coin that term. I don't want to take credit for that, but we certainly see it that way. And, and then you start thinking about like, well, and then every great idea was probably formulated or thought of on paper first.
Yes.
Before anything else. Everything from like the atomic bomb to, ice cream machines were doodled and figured out in a notebook.
It's such a cool concept to me, the operating system aspect of it. But even more so is this romantic idea of, yes, some of the most incredible inventions, the most incredible writings, books, whatever it is, ideas have all been started on paper. But more so, it's exciting to me to know that there's likely somebody out there who's used a Resketch notebook to create something that either is already very successful and popular right now or will be in the future, and it happened on a Resketch notebook. I don't know. I just like...
Let's hope so.
I think so.
We would certainly like to think that's probably happened maybe in the last 12 years for sure.
Yeah.
There is something magical in a world where we're rushing towards the horizon.
Yeah.
Innovation, running towards the horizon without even really thinking about where we're running to. There is something, again, to use the term romantic, about something simple, something analog, something that is small enough to take with you wherever you go, doesn't have to be plugged in, right? It's there. And the great thing about notebooks, like all tangible things, especially things you fill with your own ideas and thoughts, is that the older it is and the longer you have it, the more valuable it becomes, which is the exact opposite of technology.
Right.
The longer you keep your iPhone, the less valuable it becomes. And that's a weird dichotomy that we live in, but we believe that very, very much. And we love the analog world. I am suspicious of any technology that takes the human element out of creation.
Yes, I am also very suspicious. And we continue to dip our toes further and further into those waters, especially nowadays with AI and large language models and just technology is definitely consuming our lives, right? Like, it's funny, I I set my phone over as we were setting up over by you, and I literally was like, where's my phone? And I saw it over there and I was like, you know what, this is good to just to have a conversation without the phone there, and I definitely I appreciate that. And to the analog world, I'm a former DJ. I still DJ. Once a DJ, always a DJ. But I learned on vinyl, and I was so enamored with it because I grew up listening to records and putting them the actual physical thing of putting this record on a record player and putting the needle on and then hearing that staticky scratch, and it's so pure. And
all of those acts that you just mentioned are intentional acts. You can't even listen to the music without going through those steps.
Yes. It's all on purpose. Now you can literally just say, hey, I'm not going to do it because my phone's going to probably play it. But you can tell your device to play something, and boom, it's there. And of course, that's one intentional action. Hey, I want to hear this thing. But it's so much. Yes, the analog world, I think, will always, to me, I think, have a place in society, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to grow as we have these two dichotomies of like the analog world and the digital world. And while there's so much benefit to the digital world, it's so digital. It lacks that life, that personality, and with your notebooks, just the opportunity to sit down and write something. Tell me, you're a subject matter expert in the realm of writing and creating and stuff, but I've heard this thought on you remember you retain something more if you write it down. Do you know anything about that science or that?
Well, you're giving me a lot of credit. I know of the factoid. There's a tremendous amount of data on hand connected to brain. So when you write something down, you're more apt to remember it than if you just read it or typed it into a keyboard. Again, it removes the human, what we have evolved to do. It removes that from the equation. And the random paper is kind of an evolution of that even further, right? Because again, like we mentioned earlier, it like when you turn the page and it's yellow, or then you turn the next page and it's purple, but it's twice as thick, or it has a certain texture to it, it kind of keeps the brain awake instead of your brain just downshifting and like, I know the next page is going to be a white piece of paper and I'm going to write on that page just like I wrote on the page before it, which is why we've kind of focused on the creative community and builders for our kind of our target demographic. Anyone can buy a Resketch notebook, of course, but we really build them for the creative space.
Yeah.
For that reason alone, right? Why not embrace, it's not a bug. The random paper, some people see it as like a novelty, like, oh, this is like a gimmick that you've come up with. And it truly is not. I know that might be hard to believe, but it truly, truly, truly is like, no, this was the idea from the beginning. This randomized paper, and it does come with environmental benefits, creativity benefits, mental health benefits. We've had therapists buy our notebooks for their patients because they feel like their patients, they ask their patients to keep journals. And those journals are obviously emotional and private and all those things, but it helps them be creative and write because of the unique nature of the paper inside the notebooks.
Yes, I am so, and I love that because I think it's true. For me, I have a myriad of notebooks at home, and I don't enjoy writing in them because it's every single page is the exact same thing, and I flip through it. I'll go back through and like look at old notebooks of things where I'm just like, okay, where was that page? But this is like, oh yeah, I wrote that down on the yellow page.
It's funny you bring that up. I met someone at a design conference not too long ago, a Phoenix Design Conference, and they came up to us and they said, oh my gosh, Resketch, I love Resketch. I'm on a yellow page. Like they remember, it's become this unofficial mantra of like, I'm on a blue page, I'm on a gridded page, I'm on a whatever page. And that is kind of an unintended consequence. I myself never would have thought like to reference where I was in a notebook like that. But that is something we hear a lot.
It's so cool, man. I mean, and I love that there's so many unintended consequences of such a cool
creativity.
Yes, it is. And that's it. That's exactly it. Man, it's such I'm fascinated by it. But I do want to ask you, with all of this amazing stuff that you guys have created and built over the last 12 years with this business, I have to imagine there's been some pain and some heartache, as there is with any business. What would you say is maybe the most challenging thing you've encountered since this?
Well, I'm extremely fortunate in the sense that I've only owned the company for a shorter period of time than the company's been around. Mm-hmm. So, it can't be said enough. Sean Smith, and a very amazing artist in Chicago. You should look him up. Shaunimals, @Shaunimals is his tag on Instagram. Amazing guy. He really did a lot of the hard work in the sense of like, how do we, because Resketch notebooks are not made by hand in our kitchen. We do make them on an industrial scale, so there's challenges there. Sean figured out a lot of that. But we're constantly refining it to make it better. So there are some pain points there. Finding paper is a constant challenge. So, we always, whenever we're on a media platform, we say, if you know of anyone who has paper, please give us a call or, email us or go to the website and contact us somehow. So that is like just a constant, it's almost like a second business, paper acquisition.
Oh yeah.
Finding paper. For me personally, the hardest part of Resketch is squeezing as much quality out of leftover materials as we can. I mean, ultimately, we are making this entire brand is made of spare parts. And imagine building a plane that's safe to fly in out of spare parts. It's not the easiest thing in the world to have like a stamp of quality on that, right? So to me, that's what kind of keeps me up at night. And I know that's low-hanging fruit in comparison to the other problems in the world. But I really want Resketch to not just be an interesting notebook, but I want it to be a good notebook, as good as it can be based on the materials it's made of, right? And there is a built-in, I don't know if shabby chic is the right terminology, but there is an element of like, look, there are some production problems because we're using different paper types. If you've ever seen a book or any other typical notebook, it's all the same paper in order, and ours are random paper in random order. And it takes a certain kind of production partner to work with us on that. It takes a little longer. It's more expensive to produce. And there's a little bit more of a hands-on quality. And not only do we have to find production partners that want to take that extra pain in the ass on, but we also have to find people inside those facilities that love the concept, because it does take more of a hands-on. They can't just hit the button and walk away from it, because certain paper will get hung up inside the machinery. So you have to be there, and you kind of have to love it all the way through the process, you know? And that takes special people, because binderies and printing facilities are not set up to make things at random. And a lot of places have come to us and said, we love your idea, it's great, but we don't want the hassle, right? Because if they screw something up, it's not like they can go and order more paper for us. That paper is now just gone.
Yeah.
Right. And that hurts our bottom line. So, you know, it's a thing, for lack of a better term.
That is fascinating. You did touch on one thing that I want to maybe expand upon a little bit, was the printers and the binderies, two separate
Entities.
businesses, organizations, processes. And so how does it happen? Like, what's the process, without maybe giving up the whole secret sauce? But
well, I say printer. We don't really print a lot. We print our book plate, right? And we do make some notebooks out of reclaimed covers, like reclaimed concert posters and things like that, which are limited editions, and they're almost sold. We do one run of limited edition notebooks a year, made from concert posters. And those are almost sold out for anyone listening. But the other covers, the covers that if you're watching this on YouTube, you know, we do buy that stock, and we, you know, letterpress our logos into that, because we want those to be consistent. So we do work with a printer on that. We also work with a printer on page counts. We have to provide the right amount of each paper and have it cut down before it even goes into bindery. And we just can't do that internally. So we have a printing partner. That's probably a non-traditional use of a printer. Again, there's a part of that thing. Someone's got to be willing to be the poor person who sits there and says, like, okay, we need 80,000 sheets of this one type of paper. Do we have 80,000 sheets of that one type of paper?
Yeah.
Someone's got to do that work. And then, so all of the paper is cut down and counted.
Who cuts it?
The printer.
The printer will. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And are they like, do they have like a big industrial machine that's like shrink, or is there somebody with one of those like?
No. It's an industrialized process. Okay. Yeah. But again, there's so many hands-on processes to even get to that point, you know, because we got to pull it out of the warehouse. So like I'm the guy who goes into the warehouse and says, okay, and we have this like proprietary algorithm.
Yeah.
And we look at it and I'm like, okay, and then we might be reprinting, let's say 4 or 5 different notebook sizes. And depending on the notebook size, depends on how many sheets we can get out of one sheet. And then you have different kinds of sheets. So there's multi-levels of math here, you know. I don't want to oversell it. It's not like calculus or anything, or I wouldn't be able to do it. But it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we get the raw paper ready, but then the printer really goes through it and helps us categorize it and cuts it down, and then make sure that by the time the bindery gets it, they can just put the paper in the slots based on our algorithm and make the notebook.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ugly work at the front, so the bindery has a slightly less hassle of a time making the notebooks.
Okay.
So it is extra work. It is extra work. It is not a hands-off process. I can't just call up someone and say, I need you to make me some more notebooks. I'm on vacation. Right. It's a very hands-on process. So it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
You know.
It is. It's so cool though, because you can tell that in just the product itself. Like it has this element of, yeah, it's special because it did take a long way to get into my hands, you know, type of thing, where it's not just like, oh, I can go down to Target or Walmart or wherever, Staples, and buy a notebook, because of the fact that it takes so much effort to produce something that's so unique, individualized like this, which again makes it so cool and so special. And I did want to understand a little bit from the side of the process, right? And I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it, but it's crazy to me, because it's just like, why would somebody, again, go through this entire process to make it so individual? How many can you produce in a year, would you say?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it's kind of I would say we always try to keep about a year's worth of paper on hand.
Okay.
And that was something that we just learned from Sean. Sean was like, because you got to plan ahead. This is not something you can just call up and order on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we'll get large amounts of paper donated, and we'll get small amounts of paper donated. You know, the number one question we get is, where do you get your paper?
Yeah.
That's just it. I don't care who I talk to. Where do you get your paper?
Yeah.
And the truth is we've gotten pallets and pallets and pallets of paper donated by like an industrial source or ASU or whatever. And then we'll get some lady who's like, I've got 20 notebooks that my kids didn't use. Can you please take these? And she'll drop them off at our office in a little bag, right?
Very cool.
Every little bit helps.
Yes. Okay.
Right? But I would say we probably couldn't make more than, say, like 100,000 notebooks in a year.
Wow. That's a lot, though. I mean, that's
it's
a lot.
It's a lot, and we don't always make that much. I'm going to be honest. It just depends on sales. You know, we consider ourselves a boutique company.
Yeah.
Proudly, and we don't have any investors, so I can say this without, like, you know,
Wow.
We'll probably always be a boutique company to a certain degree. We'll always probably grow. It'll be very slow organic growth just because of the nature of the production process. So yeah, that's just how it works.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so cool to me that you guys are as successful as you are, in just the fact that you're able to produce. You know, it's not like you're showing up to a farmer's market, and no shade to anybody that goes to a farmer's market. I love
We do go to, I mean, we don't go to farmers markets, but we do go to local markets.
Yes.
Because we meet a lot of people there. And we like to meet people. We like to talk to them about the notebooks, and we meet people that have access to paper.
Yeah, sure. It's a great networking opportunity to find more paper, because it's always we need paper. We need more paper.
We need paper.
What was that? There was a movie, Waterworld. Did you ever see Waterworld?
I did see Waterworld.
And there was this there's this scene where they had paper, and it was so, like, it was shocking for them to see paper and hold it and feel it and stuff. And I mean, I hope we never get to that point. But
well, I especially hope we don't get to that point, because that's my whole business relies on.
yes, exactly. Yeah. But if we get to that point, we're in way worse problems, I think, than that situation. But it's really neat. Now I gotta ask you, how many paper cuts have you had?
You know, there are some times when you're in there and you're stacking paper and you get a paper cut, and it's just, that's the one thing that pushes you over the edge for that day. Because there's a lot of things about paper. Number one, it's heavy.
Yeah.
You're moving, paper's heavy. It's expensive to ship. It's like heavy to move.
Yeah.
And, you know, we deal with randomized paper. So it's not like every pile of paper we have is some neatly reamed paper. So yeah, we get paper cuts are a part of it.
That's part of the job.
Part of the job.
The scars of success.
Yeah.
And I get, that's hilarious. So you're just like, I'm done for the day.
Yeah,
like,
it can be.
And it's
because the thing you learn is that different kinds of paper will give you a different kind of cut. The thinner the paper, the deeper the cut.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
It's like an X-Acto knife or a scalpel. It's so thin and so sharp. Yeah, I can't stand paper cuts because, yeah, they hurt and they're so small. They seem so minute of a problem, but yeah.
And they're always a surprise.
Yeah,
And that adds to it.
sure. But you still get paper cuts to this day. There's no like secret technique to reducing the paper cuts.
No, I mean, I've tried to wear gloves and stuff, but then the paper gets roughed up, you know? So that's another thing. We say like we manicure the paper, and that might sound fancy, but it's just making sure that the paper remains untarnished,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? Because that's no one wants to buy a notebook with wrinkled paper or, you know, whatever. So we have to make sure that the paper is of like consumer quality, I guess.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So we try to treat it, you know, we have to keep it in a climate controlled environment because heat will make the paper brittle, you know, whatever. So we keep it at a certain temperature, you know, and you want to keep the dust off of it and all that kind of stuff.
Fascinating.
So yeah, again, that's the hidden side of stuff that we deal with that probably the average notebook company, they don't store their own paper, I'm guessing. I don't know anything about the manufacturing process of Moleskine, but my guess is they order a metric shit ton of paper when they need paper because their paper is readily available at a mill. Our paper is not readily available at a mill. We have to rescue it.
Yeah, man, it's such I never imagined that I could just be so fascinated with something as paper, and I've watched The Office and I love that show, and it's a paper company.
Yeah. Well, we say every page has a story.
It does.
And it does. In a Resketch notebook, every page has a story.
And it's cool because you can flip through it and you just be like, you could you get high one day and just be like, wow, I wonder where this paper came from.
Yeah. And if you could get a hold of me, I could probably tell you.
Tell you where it came from. That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, so I could still continue to talk about paper for the next 3 hours, but in essence of the fact that this is a podcast about legendary people, and that's why you're on the podcast, I want to dive into a little bit more about your origin story as well. So you're originally from Chicago?
I'm from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay.
Rural Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was born about an hour south of the Canadian border and about an hour east of the North Dakota border. So like Little House on the Prairie-esque environments.
Kidding.
Yeah. And then I was raised in central Minnesota, about 3 hours north of Minneapolis.
Okay. And then you ended up migrating or making your way to Illinois.
No, I moved directly from Minnesota to Arizona.
Oh, wait. I thought you spent time in Chicago. No?
Nope, just my friend Sean.
Oh.
And my wife's from Chicago.
Okay. Got it.
She's from the Chicago area.
Got it. Okay. I don't know why I just assumed that you had grown up in Chicago, but okay. Wow. So you're just you're a salt of the earth kind of guy, but somehow managed to break out and go and become this. Obviously, I mean, Resketch is just a small segment of your story, but you obviously, did you go to school for design or what's the?
I started in illustration.
Okay.
I got my first degree in painting and illustration.
Oh, wow.
For a very, very brief time in my life, at a very young age, I worked for an independent comic book company and did some comic book stuff. And then that led to publication design, and that's how I got myself out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the illustration art?
Yeah, I mean,
side of things?
Sure. I was young and stupid enough to think that I would be an artist. You know, I was going to be an illustrator, and that's how I would make my living. And I did for a short time, but in about 1992, the bottom fell out of the comic book industry, and I was not good enough to really make the cut. You know, there was rock star people, and I worked for a very small little rinky-dinky company that did independent, you know, comics. So I was not good enough to like really stand shoulder to shoulder with like truly talented people, in my opinion.
Okay.
I was good, but I was slow. I got good by taking my time, where really great people can do it very quickly.
Yeah, I see.
And that really just wasn't me. So I kind of hung on to illustration for a while as like an editorial illustrator, but ultimately that just didn't quite, I wasn't making a good living at that. So then I went to school for graphic design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you kind of finished school, focus more on the graphic design side in branding or in the we'll call it art, because graphic design definitely has a big strong element of art. But what was your kind of focus area? What did you shine at when it came to graphic design? And
Well,
design work?
because I had experience in comic books, magazines were a natural. I understood magazines.
Okay.
So I started designing a local magazine here in town even before I had graduated with even an associate's degree. And that just and then I kind of dabbled in two things. I really did like logo and identity development, which ended up being some branding stuff. And then publication design were the two main focuses of my life there.
That's really cool.
Which also leads to notebooks.
Sure.
Notebooks are not, they're a publication of sorts. They're a blank publication of sorts, you know?
That's true. Actually, I wouldn't have made that cross section, but that's absolutely 100%. It's a book, right?
It's a book.
It's a book with notes.
Yeah. And more importantly for me, when I was a kid, I grew up on a little horse farm in the middle of nowhere. And, you know, I loved movies. And I didn't have any creation tools. I didn't have a camera. I couldn't film a movie. And if I would have had a camera, I would have. But I learned very quickly that as long as I had paper and a pencil, I could tell whatever stories I wanted. And that's kind of how I got into even comic books. I could draw. I taught myself how to draw. So notebooks became a tool for creative people. Right?
Yeah.
So that was another reason why the notebooks kind of made everything full circle. It was like, I'm making creative tools for people, you know.
That's really neat. And was it a light bulb moment for you, or was there a lot of hemming and hawing about taking over Resketch?
You know, there really wasn't. The only hemming and hawing was it was during the pandemic is when we bought the company. And everything happened very slow during the pandemic. You know, one lawyer would get COVID, and then the other lawyer would get COVID, and it would delay the process. Banks were not giving business loans, you know, during the pandemic because they were guaranteeing all of the government-funded loans that were going out. So we had to pay cash for the company instead of like taking out a traditional business loan. So that was like all stressful, and like production costs went up, right? Because like once the pandemic was over, everything just costs more to make, you know? So there was things like that. That was the only real, like, I had known of Resketch. I knew Sean. Sean had been a friend of mine for 20 years, someone I always respected, and I think he respected me. So it was kind of a natural, like, he felt it was going into good hands. And he was very supportive. He still owns a percentage of the company. He's a silent partner in the company, because it's his baby that I've taken and ran with.
Yeah.
We always kind of say it was born in Chicago but raised in Phoenix. So yeah, that was the only. There wasn't any like creative or conceptual concerns. I knew what I wanted, because when we bought it from Sean, we rebranded the company to be something else, and I knew exactly what I wanted it to be.
That's cool. That's neat that you. Yeah, it's like all these roads led to this. And are you happy where you're at right now? Like, do you feel like there's bigger things that you want to do? There's other things that you want to do?
You know, first of all, it doesn't feel like much has been accomplished, to be fair.
Really?
I think like when people say like you've accomplished so much, it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing anything when you're running up the hill, right? So to me, it's just like, it doesn't feel like we've reached any kind of plateau. It's just like Resketch has to be run, Skaaren Design has to be run, you know, AIGA has to be run. And there's no moment in that day where you sit there and say, you know, look how successful I am. Because you're always worried about the next thing.
Sure.
Even if that next thing isn't an evolution, it's just a continuation, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I've never thought like that. I'm a simple kid from a little place in Minnesota. I'm just happy to be here, not shoveling snow.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Is this water for me, by
Yes,
the way?
that's for you.
Thank you.
Now, I want to understand a little bit then, with Skaaren Designs.
Skaaren Design.
Okay. So you kind of left your corporate job. You said, I think you've worked at a couple of pretty large publications and companies.
Yeah.
But
that was always, honestly, I'd been making money as an illustrator since I was like 15.
Okay.
So whenever I worked for another entity, it was always kind of as an independent contractor, or just in my brain, I instinctually knew it was going to be temporary.
Ah, okay.
That wasn't necessarily by design. I just took every opportunity I could.
That's a hustler right there.
Yeah, if an opportunity came my way, I self-published a comic book when I was in high school.
Really?
I'm just one of those people that just doesn't. My wife would probably disagree with you, but I'm not very good at sitting still for very long. My wife will probably say I'm lazy, but the truth is like when it comes to business type stuff,
yeah,
I like to create things.
Okay.
I like to create physical, tangible things.
Yeah.
I don't code websites. Mm-hmm. I don't edit video. I don't edit audio. I like to touch stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I respect that. I think that it's such a, it's an old school thing, which again, it's not necessarily, it's not an old school thing, but you were raised in a time period where technology wasn't the main thing.
There was a craftsmanship hump you had to get over and master before anyone took you seriously. Mm-hmm. And I think probably not consciously, but subconsciously, my grandfather was a woodworker. My dad was very mechanical.
Okay.
And there was just a craftsmanship to that kind of stuff. So probably in the environment that I was raised in, there was kind of probably an unspoken precedent put on that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Also the Midwestern work ethic, I suppose.
Yes. Well, and that's it's funny because every Midwestern person I've ever met, I've just really liked them. I don't think I've ever met a Midwesterner that I didn't like, maybe one, but overall it's just, I don't know, they're just good people. They come from good communities, they come from a good upbringing, right? Not like and there's nothing to be negative said about somebody who's maybe raised in a city or something like that, but you have gotten to experience a really genuine, pure life, But to that point, I do want to ask you, what is the most challenging thing you ever have had to deal with in your life?
Patience and empathy for other people.
Oh, okay.
I probably didn't have a lot of
it. But you're Midwestern. You're supposed to be.
I know. That's why I couldn't wait to get out of the Midwest, Now, I'm not saying I was a monster, but I definitely prioritized the work over people. I was a workaholic. I love getting things right. And I probably saw it as like some kind of a unspoken mission in my life where like I didn't sleep. I was putting whatever resources I had into what I was doing, and I probably expected everyone else to care about it as much as I did. And I would say I suffered from that malady up until about 7-8 years ago.
What happened?
Age. Probably.
Okay.
Just experience, seeing it, like I wish I had a better answer to the question, but no, maybe even some failed relationships. And I don't mean romantic relationships. I just mean, I'm sure I've lost friends to my endeavors just because I took it so seriously and I, expected everyone to take it as seriously as I did. And, probably a series of events like that.
Okay. No, that's good. I appreciate the.
What were you expecting to
the
hear?
authenticity? No, I had no expectation, honestly, and I actually really like that because that's something that it was either for me expecting to hear some really wild, traumatic story from your previous life or childhood or something like that. But or yeah, something in that realm of like here's what I deal with, and we talked about it too. You are you're somebody who doesn't sleep a lot, right? You don't get a ton of sleep at night.
I've suffered from insomnia my entire life, which is a blessing and a curse, right? But I think I learned to, there's probably a lot in that soup, but I certainly learned to overcome some of that stuff by just being busy.
Sure.
I had a professor in college say like, well, don't just lay there and do nothing, get up and do something. So I would draw all night.
Okay.
I
like that. Kudos to your professor. But
yeah.
also,
I'm sure a doctor would probably say, get some sleep.
Yes, yeah.
You dumbass.
Take this so you can actually sleep, because sleep is important for your health and all that kind of thing. But
I'm completely immune to anything that a sleep aid.
Really?
Yeah.
You've tried them all.
I've tried them all.
Oh man.
Yeah. Some work in small doses, but my body gets used to it. I build up a tolerance very quick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it just a natural thing? Because I've never had a problem sleeping, and I don't know what it's like to maybe have this once in a while, right? Like I just can't go to sleep. But is it your mind continuing to run? Is it you feel this obligation to be doing something? Like, do you know why?
Well, there's stories that my mom would tell you that even when I was an infant, I wouldn't sleep. So so for as long as I can remember, this is how it's been.
Okay.
So I don't equate it with like, this is extraordinary from what other people experience. This is just how I've lived my entire life. Now, as I've gotten older, it comes, the check comes due more often,
Yeah.
So, now I definitely think, my mind is constantly going. I'm always worrying, the more you're responsible for, the more problems you have to solve, the more your brain works to solve those problems. And I'm sure that doesn't help.
Yeah. Wow. That sucks. But I love that it's not a new thing that you're having to deal with.
No.
You've been dealing with it for a long time.
Yeah.
And let's go to Skaaren Design. And you started this back in...
Oh, it's always been in my life. I just gave it a formal name probably like 25 years ago.
Okay.
It's had other names, but yeah, about 25 years ago, I just kind of finally just trademarked Skaaren Design.
Okay.
Legally.
And what is Skaaren? Is that Scandinavian?
Norwegian. Yeah.
Okay. Are you 100%?
My mom was German.
Ah, okay. But definitely European descent. That's cool. And it's spelled Skaaren?
Skaaren.
E-N. Okay. That's cool. Now, what do you do with Skaaren Design?
Everything.
Okay.
We're kind of, I call it a design studio because we will literally just do whatever. We solve problems. We solve visual problems.
Yeah.
So, we've done everything from jewelry to publication designs, branding, websites, whatever.
Just in that realm of like you have a business, organization, company, what have you, and you want to, whatever it is, right? Design, branding, logo.
Sometimes it's just like system building.
Okay.
Like we have a department that doesn't run very well. How can we make it run better? That's a design system like anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and
that's why I say everything.
Yeah. And do you spend more time with Skaaren Design? Do you spend more time with Resketch? Is it equal? It probably ebbs and flows, right? As a business
it certainly ebbs and flows. The economy right now makes Skaaren Design a little slower. But like, let's say everything is firing on all cylinders. I would say Skaaren Design 75% of the time, Resketch. Resketch is like a full-time, part-time job. Now, the good thing about Resketch is once the notebooks are made, all you got to do is sell them.
Yeah. And
we're lucky to have a history and a loyal audience. So they don't sell themselves, but we have an online store.
Yeah.
We have wholesale accounts. So that it's just really up to me to grow, constantly grow, do strategic things to grow the company. So it's not it's not work intensive. When we're doing notebooks, when we're in production of a notebook run, it's a little bit more hands-on because you literally got to be in your car going around, seeing things happen. But once we have notebooks and we're just in that period, it's and again, the company was because the company was born, or the second version of the company was born during the pandemic. I really did design it like from the ground up. I mean, there's not a single thing we didn't just build from the ground up, because we had the time to do it. Like, what else do you do during a pandemic?
Sure.
Right. But I did it with the idea of, I want to be able to do this under the worst case scenarios by myself.
Okay. Without staff.
Without staff. Now my wife helps with Resketch because she's just a default person.
She's
obligated. She's obligated.
Yeah, okay. What's your wife's name?
Jessica.
Okay, shout out to Jessica.
Yeah, the greatest person in the world for putting up with all my shenanigans. So it was designed to be like, how can we do this? How to build a system, like, let's just throw everything out the window and build it to be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it really is. I mean, there, like, during certain times of the year, it gets very busy. Like, obviously the fall is very busy because sales go up in the fall. Christmas is a big time and things like that. But other than that, throughout the year, we've kind of got it to the point where it's not overwhelming.
And you know what to expect. It's not like you're going into it and every season is something completely brand new, aside from maybe we've got some new paper types or something like that.
Yeah, there's always a few surprises here and there, but they're nothing like overwhelming for sure. Yeah.
And then with the Skaaren Design, I feel like that's for you maybe something that you really enjoy, because it is so you're solving problems. Not that you're not with Resketch, but that's what you're doing with Skaaren.
Yeah, everything at Skaaren Design and all the companies that we've worked with and all the problems we've solved for companies. We've built shipping and receiving departments.
Wow.
We've organized warehouses, right? All of that informed Resketch, because I had experience doing all this stuff for all these other companies. So Resketch was kind of just this, I do know how to do this because I've just been doing it for other people for 30 years.
That's really beneficial to launch a company, or not launch it, but relaunch it, and go into it with a lot of knowledge that a lot of entrepreneurs and people just don't have that experience or knowledge into doing, which I think shines in what you've created.
Yeah, but it should also be said that it's really not rocket science. Like, one of the things, like, if there's any entrepreneurs out there or anyone out there who's thinking like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. It's like, you absolutely could do that. You're just going to be slightly slower at it than I was. Maybe.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Because all that it really is like asking the right question at the right time. And then, now there is financial mistakes you can make. We certainly made financial mistakes, even with, all of our quote unquote knowledge of how this gets done. We still made some mistakes that cost us money.
Sure.
And we're like, oh shit, that's not going to work. We got to do it this way instead. There goes $5,000 or whatever.
Right.
That stuff still happens, but that's business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cost of doing business,
yeah.
Unfortunately. But you try to mitigate as many of those mistakes or learning experiences as you go along, but they're always going to exist. What would you say, as somebody who's been doing it for a long time, being a business owner, and obviously with Resketch, but more so maybe Skaaren, but any advice to just somebody who's either in the trenches right now with their business and they're 3 years in or 2 years in, right? They're new. What advice could you maybe just give them? If you were in an elevator and they were like, hey, you're so, like, I view you as very successful. What advice could you give me?
Well, I have 3 things that are kind of constantly in my head.
Okay.
One is have the resources to make good decisions. That usually means money. It's very difficult, especially like if you're running a design firm. You get quote unquote bad clients coming to the door all the time. You got to have the financial resources to be able to say no to those people, because bad clients attract bad clients and good clients attract good clients. Just like quality attracts people who like quality, and crap attracts people who don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you got to have resources to do that. And that's going to be different for everybody. It just depends on your overhead.
Yeah.
Right. Or other resources you might have access to. The second thing is, I do not like any system that removes the human element from my business.
Okay.
I like people. I like meeting with people in person. I like, dealing with people in person. That takes time, it just does. And in the modern world, that's relatively challenging. Like some people will say, like, hey, let's set up a Zoom call. And 9 times out of 10, I'll say, I don't do Zoom calls. Let's meet in person if we can.
Yeah.
But that really helps with relationships, and businesses is all about relationships.
Sure.
I don't really think you can build a relationship on Zoom. And if you can, I'm not really interested in doing it.
Sure.
How many things did I say I had in my head? 3?
Yes.
I can't think of the third one. But those 2 are pretty important.
What are your thoughts around, and I've talked to a couple of other people on the podcast, and I've asked this question, but what are your thoughts around mentors? And do you subscribe to that? Or are you a mentor? I feel like you're probably more mentor than mentee, but
I don't know if I'm a good one.
okay.
I didn't have a lot myself,
Okay.
which is, I think, where some of that, remember how I said I didn't have a lot of empathy and a lot of patience for people? I think I had a pretty big chip on my shoulder in the sense of, like, I had to make it happen and no one helped me do it. So I think I had an attitude problem there. I wish I would have had a mentor.
Okay.
The closest thing I had to a mentor, at least from my perspective, was people who just said really smart things to me that I was smart enough to remember.
Okay.
But yeah, I think again, it's a human element. Giving people time is so rare these days.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will do it performatively. They won't actually do it. It takes time to take time out of your day, especially if you bill by the hour or whatever,
Right.
to sit down with someone for some undisclosed amount of time and just help them with something. That is pretty special, and it just doesn't happen.
Sure.
So I try to do it as often as I can. Whenever I have time, I try to fill that time with people.
I like that. That's very cool. I find that fascinating, especially from what I know about designers and creatives. Most of them prefer to just be in their room, in their space, not being bothered, just being able to create, which I'm sure you have some semblance of that maybe. But it's fascinating to me that you are more keen to go and be around people, which leads me to my next point is I definitely feel like, and you tell me if this is true, but you have a lot of leadership qualities.
How do you know that?
I think based on just from what I know about you,
Okay.
but of course you started your own company, and I'm sure you've probably led people while you've been in that company, but also when you're working with an organization to help them optimize or design, you're leading them to that. Then you also have Resketch, which you are taking over. You're leading that. And then, of course, now with AIGA, you're leading that group as well. So is that something you just kind of accidentally fell into all of these things, or did you go pursue those because you want to kind of hone in on those leadership skills, or what?
I think at a very young age, I just found myself in the position of being the guy who got stuff done.
Okay.
Someone said something to me once, and it's not an original idea, and I'm sure there's a famous quote out there somewhere that we could attribute to someone, a celebrity or something. But I remember hearing at a very young age, it's just like, just be the guy who shows up and gets things done. And sometimes that means that you sacrifice a lot of yourself to that. I think leadership, there's an invisible side to leadership, and I kind of explain it like there's a lot of altars that need sacrificing on, and you're the one making the sacrifices, and not a lot of people see that.
Sure.
They see if you're in a board meeting, they see what happens at the board meeting. They don't see what happens before the meeting. They don't see what happens after the meeting, all those kinds of things. And you just kind of have to eat that stress and sin, basically, because there's not a leader on planet Earth who isn't standing on someone's shoulders.
Right.
And then there's not a leader on Earth that isn't eating someone's mistakes. and you got to take the good with the bad,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at AIGA, we have a board of directors. You know, I'm sure on any given day, half of them like me and half of them wonder what the hell it is I'm doing, right? You just got to understand that and do your best and hope to God one day they see the vision,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. I like that. No, that's good. I think that that's a good approach to have to it, right? Because I think you are definitely a humble person in just what you've accomplished, and you say, you know, I don't feel like I have accomplished all that much, or I can't appreciate what I've accomplished because I'm just in the trenches, continuing to try to do more, and whether that's, you know, your own self drive, whether that's you are trying to pursue something, right? And I don't know what that is. Do you know what it is that you're trying to pursue? This is therapy with Dave.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've always just wanted to put good things into the world. Now, because I'm a designer, those good things are, you know, I focus on the physical,
Yeah.
right? So I want to be an example of someone who takes the time to get it right. Because so many people don't take the time to get anything right anymore, right? So I guess that's really all I care about. When I started my design firm, and there's been plenty of projects, believe me, there's might even been products at Resketch where we lost money, but I wanted it to be right. So we did it. We might have gone through the production process so many times that there's no way to make the money back now, but we've ended up someplace where it's a quality product and now we can move forward,
Yes.
right? A lot of people, it just seems to me a lot of people don't have the patience to do that. They want to start a company and get as quickly as they can to the fun stuff, which is making money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of believe that if you just grind it out and make something quality, that the money will come somehow, which is why I don't really think in terms like when you said, have you accomplished anything? I'm like, it doesn't feel like I've accomplished anything. I just want the resources to continue to do it. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
I mean, obviously everyone has to pay their rent. Everyone has to make their car payment. Everyone's got to buy groceries and all that kind of stuff. And right now, a lot of people are feeling that. But I just want the resources to keep doing it because I always feel like there's something better on the horizon. Now, I turned 50 this month. So
You turned?
I will turn 50 this
Okay.
month. So you do have a sense of mortality where it's like, well, how long is it responsible to have that optimistic outlook? At some point, you have to start being more responsible than keep throwing Hail Mary passes into the end zone, right?
Okay.
I've always seen myself as someone who throws Hail Mary passes into the end zone. That's my whole game plan.
That's great. I like that analogy. I played some Madden and flag football in my day, and I definitely love because those are the exciting plays. And
Right.
when they land
Right.
and when you get that touchdown, it's way more satisfying than some good traditional, 4-yard run. And if you can do those consistently, you can score touchdowns, but not as exciting and not as fun. And
risky.
right, and risky. But I think to compound a little bit on that question of just like, do you what is your goal? What is your intent? I mean, I have to imagine you're doing well with Resketch, but I also feel like because of the boutique nature of it and stuff, it's not a $1 billion company and probably never will be.
No.
But is money a driver for you?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I don't think you can be an artist. And I don't consider myself to be an artist, but I am in the creative space.
Yeah.
I do sell. As a designer, we sell things that don't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a tremendous amount of stress involved in that. And you don't know how much it's going to cost you to realize those ideas. And I don't just mean in physical materials. I mean mental, physical, everything. So everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to live. Everyone wants to drive a nicer car. Everyone wants to live in a bigger house. So like those things, you want those things. But I've always seen what I do is like I really get paid twice, right? If a client comes to me, I I get the money that they're going to pay me to design their logo and all that stuff. But that money goes pretty quickly, right? That goes to rent or my mortgage, to my dog food, whatever. But then I get paid in the project. And the project is the future promise of more work.
Sure.
That's why I put everything I can into the project, even if it costs me money sometimes, because I want to make sure that project is good enough to attract the next good client, right? So I see, even though I'm a graphic designer and we do things for money, I still see it as an artistic endeavor. And I just want to have the resources to keep doing it.
Okay. What do you envision retirement for you?
I don't think I'll retire. not because I don't want to. I just don't know. I think success in this business entails a certain level of self-sacrifice. And it's not like we're lifting hay bales or digging ditches. We're sitting behind computers and doodling in notebooks. So it's not working, physically intensive in that regard. But I just think a life in this space isn't as cut and dry as like being a fireman or a cop or an accountant. There's more algebra and calculus kind of involved in there, and it's not always like I'm going to retire when I turn 65. Right. I can't imagine that happening. So I don't think about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
And I like what I do.
Yes.
So I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't hate my job.
Right.
Some days I hate my job. But most days I'm like, this is just what I do. And I've done it for so long that I don't ever see myself not doing it.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you enjoy doing when you're not working?
Well, here's the problem. When you're a designer, everything is design. Yeah. Everything is design. This stupid little cup has been designed by somebody, right? Yeah. So I think it's always in your life, which makes it hard to separate it. I'm a ferocious reader,
okay,
and an intaker of movies.
Yes.
Now I can still look at those things. I'm a publication designer, so a book is still an artifact to be studied. But I'm also and I consider myself a writer to a degree.
Okay.
But I love to read and I love to watch movies.
Yes. Any particular types of books?
Not really. I mean, I like to read books that deal with perspective on things. I don't want to say philosophy because that sounds a little highfalutin, but okay. I like to read people's perspectives on things. Yeah. And, just like anyone else, I would have some guilty pleasures of like, I don't mind reading some, Peter Benchley's Jaws,
yes,
type stuff.
Okay.
I'm not above that.
So you'll read some fiction, but you prefer to maybe read something that's a little bit more highfalutin.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually highfalutin. I'm not reading like, Plato or anything like that.
Okay.
But I'm
modern
reading
day Plato.
I think it's called Art of Creation by Rick Rubin.
Okay.
Just his philosophy on creativity.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then movies.
Movies.
What do you like to watch?
Everything.
Okay.
Literally everything. I mean, yeah, I love movies.
Do you trend more towards the classics? Like, will you rewatch stuff, or do you really enjoy watching new stuff that you haven't seen before?
I watch about a movie a day.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's everything.
Okay.
There's no I certainly have things I like more than others, but no, I'll watch just about anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw this at you then.
Okay. All right. This is where I embarrass myself.
No, it's totally fine.
Because there are things I don't care about too.
What in your mind, and again, take a moment if you need to, but to you, best movie of all time?
Well, it's a cliche answer because there's the scientific answer, which is going to be Citizen Kane or 2001: Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like those are kind of like undeniably from a craftsmanship standpoint.
Sure, but this is your pick.
My pick.
If you had to stuck on an island and you had to
watch one movie, the most influential movie that I've ever seen in my life that changed the course of my life is Tim Burton's Batman 1989.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that would be in my top 5.
Okay.
That's just personal. I think it's a work of art. I really do.
Sure.
Everything about it is a work of art. But like my top 4 or 5 would be
Yeah, let's go down the list then.
Ridley Scott's Alien, 79,
Fantastic.
Jaws, which might be the best movie ever made in my opinion. 1975 Jaws, Spielberg. Godfather.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, and maybe the 5th one would be something like maybe some more culturally significant, like Wizard of Oz or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, very cool. I like that. Those are great. I mean, again, it's so subjective to like what you think is like a great piece of filmmaking, great writing, phenomenal, on-screen acting, all the things, right? And so it's necessarily kind of hard to pick. But that's cool. I really like that. I think that's a good list. Also, a list of movies, pre-2000, which, I mean, let's be honest, not a lot's
I don't
come
like
out that's great.
I've really gotten to the point, and this is snobby stuff here, but I just can't stand the sight of CGI. I just don't like CGI.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can't tell it's CGI, then I don't care.
Sure.
But when I just see these, like, they're basically just really bad cartoons at a certain point.
Okay.
And I've lost my patience for that.
Okay.
So there are modern filmmakers that stand out, like Christopher Nolan doesn't use a tremendous amount of CGI, Quentin Tarantino, people like that. Those are like the people that are making movies today that matter to me.
Sure. Yeah, because it's being true to the
They shoot on film.
the art form.
Yeah, and that's becoming rarer and rarer and rarer.
It's expensive, of course, but but it's so, again, it's like this.
Yeah.
This is expensive. I mean,
It
in the
is
world of
expensive.
notebooks,
It is.
this is not, this is not CGI. This is not AI. This is very organically well thought out and produced, and therefore this is it's a piece of art, which I love.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Okay, and then a book recommendation.
Oh boy, this is where the pool gets a little shallower. My favorite book of all time, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, no way. I love that. Okay.
So I'm not as I don't have as strong opinion in books than I do in movies, because I watch way more movies than I read books. But I also like Jaws, the book Jaws.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a streak right now where I'm listening, or sometimes I listen to audiobooks, but I try to read as much as I can. I have glasses, and I'm farsighted.
Okay.
So, like, reading books isn't as fun as it used to be because it does strain my eyes, which is kind of embarrassing thing about getting older. But I'm in a streak where I'm reading a lot of movie novelizations. I'm studying the art form of movie novelizations.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And I assume you've seen the movies before you've read most of the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those annoying people that, like, if I watch Titanic, and if it interests me, or like another, like JFK, or you name the movie, I'm one of those people where I'm like, oh, I have to watch every documentary about this. I want to know everything there is to know about it, so I know what's accurate in the movie and what's not accurate, what's been dramatized, what characters are based closely to their real life counterparts. So that's how I entertain myself when I'm not working, is I study these little things.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And you said you're a writer also.
I write, yeah. I'm a writer by necessity.
Oh, interesting.
Because being a designer, you have to write marketing copy.
Yeah.
But I do interview people, and I do, write for my blogs and stuff like that. And I've written for some other people, but it's not something that I, make a tremendous amount of money doing or anything like that.
Okay. So you wouldn't coin yourself maybe as an author.
I've never written a book.
Okay.
And I probably never will. The longer the writing takes, the worse I'm going to be at it.
Okay.
Blog posts, articles.
Okay.
That's, magazine articles. That's where I excel.
Short form.
1,300 to 3,000 words.
Okay.
You want a novel? Don't come looking at me.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I need an editor.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible speller.
That's fine. That's a job that somebody can do.
Yeah.
And then from movies, though, I think you had touched on this briefly. Like, if you had a camera when you were growing up, you would have loved to
I
make
loved movies. I grew up so far out in the country we didn't get TV reception.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably another reason why I liked comic books and I read so much,
Yeah.
because I didn't really have any other options. But we did have a VCR and we did have a television.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched movies like most kids watch television.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I wanted to watch a moving picture on a screen, I had to put a tape in the VCR.
Yeah.
So I saw, and we had a vast VHS library. So that is, to me, movies are just like default entertainment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I had a similar upbringing. We did have reception for TV, but we didn't have much as far as channels, and we didn't have cable. And so,
Yeah, we lived so far out in the country that you couldn't get cable.
Yeah.
They didn't run a cable.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was a cable. They didn't run a cable that far out into the country. So yeah, we just didn't have it.
I like that though. It's a cool way of life. To be fair,
I didn't like it at the time,
Right,
Because
right.
my friends were watching MTV and
Mhm,
all this cool stuff, and I got to watch that stuff only when I was at their house.
yeah,
But in hindsight, it's kind of like a kid today growing up with not having access to the internet. They
Yeah.
are going to be forced to be more creative with their
Yes.
time.
Mhm.
So I'm very thankful. I mean, my whole life was probably informed by that,
Yeah,
not having access to television
sure.
in some way.
Yeah, it sparked a lot of creativity for you. And do you have siblings by chance?
I have a sister.
Okay. Are you younger or older than your sister?
She's younger.
Okay, you're the oldest.
I'm
Got
the
it.
oldest,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fascinating. And did you guys play together?
Not really. I left early for art school, and
Okay.
she was kind of. We did keep each other entertained during the summers and things like that because we were home alone.
Yeah.
Typical Midwestern latchkey kids. But no, I can't say that we had like a super tight bond. I was always on the go and doing stuff, I think.
Sure.
Again, I didn't have a lot of empathy for other people. I was so self-consumed with keeping my mind occupied that I think some things fell through the cracks.
Couldn't be bothered to go and be empathetic, and that's fine. That's you are again, like you said, you're learning it later on in life, and it's definitely becoming more of a prominent thing for you, which is cool. And again, nobody's perfect, right? Nobody has all of those elements to make you the best person on the planet, type of thing. But you are doing a great job, man. I mean, honestly, you're out there building.
You need to talk to my wife.
yeah.
Wife, if you're listening.
Yeah, she's. I'm sure she has a different opinion, but also she married you, so
That's true.
And how long have you been married?
Well, we've been together like over 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Very cool. I like that. But not actually officially married. Did you guys actually?
We've been married for like 19.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Wow. That's awesome, man. Okay. Well, I want to wrap this up just because I want to.
What's the longest podcast you've ever done? Have we broken the record yet?
We are getting pretty close. I think we're at about an hour and a half right now. So this is definitely creeping up, and we might cross over. I think, the longest. Well, I did one with Rico.
Okay.
But that was a 2-parter. So it doesn't,
I don't get a second part.
it doesn't technically. Oh yeah, no. Well, I think we should just have a movie podcast. Let's just talk about movies.
I could do that
because I love movies. I don't watch like one every day. Maybe once a week, but I love cinema, and that's something that I wanted to do when I was like a kid. I wanted to become a filmmaker. That didn't work out, but I am kind of a filmmaker.
Sure, yeah.
So cool how things kind of come full circle. But I want to ask you, and this is a question that I ask all of my podcast guests, and take a moment to think about it because it's a bit of a deeper question. It doesn't have to be deep, so no. There's no grade on this. I'm fascinated because of the topic, and I want to know, for you, in your opinion, in your mind, what to you makes a person legendary? Speak into the mic.
Sorry. When I was a kid, I had the wherewithal. I read comic books, obviously.
Yep.
And there were some comic books that stood out to me, like The Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, Neil Gaiman's Sandman. And I could tell they were elevated art. I wouldn't have been able to explain it to you, right? But I remember having the feeling of comic books are stupid things. They're cartoons, They're for kids predominantly. But there were some people who elevated and took that art form seriously, and therefore they were taking the kids who read them seriously. So I think anyone, if they're in a position of leadership or in a position or have the stature to take things seriously and take the people that they're doing those things for seriously, that's what makes someone legendary to me.
That's awesome. I really like that take, because it's cool too for me to ask that question to, I don't know, 22 or 23 podcast guests thus far, but everybody's answer is different. And that's cool to me, because I'm always thinking like, oh, somebody's going to say the same thing or even close to the same thing. But that's really, I like that. I like that take, because I think, yeah, a lot of people do want to be taken seriously. And in this day and age, it's hard, right? Because I think we are becoming more self-absorbed, and it's an empathy trait, I think, in some semblance as well, to take somebody seriously, because now you're being empathetic to, them as a person and their passions or their drive or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what makes them tick.
You asked a question about leadership earlier, and one of the things that I forgot to say about leadership is, like, I think people in leadership positions are in leadership positions because they're right all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's simply not true.
Yes.
People in leadership decisions make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
I certainly do anyway. And, I think the main goal is to just have everyone's best interest at heart. And unfortunately, I think the burden of leadership is to sacrifice your own needs to make sure everybody else gets what they need. There's a book that I have not read by Simon Sinek, and I think the title of the book is Leaders Eat Last. And like I said, I've never read the book, sadly, and I'm referencing it here, but that title makes a tremendous amount of sense to me.
Yeah.
Leaders Eat Last.
That's great. I like that. It's I think I've actually heard of this book by Simon Sinek, and yeah, I haven't read it either. But to your point, that's a good approach to leadership in that mentality. Now, to be fair, and let's be honest, a lot of people in leadership don't necessarily maybe belong in leadership.
No, I think a lot of people, because we put such a precedent on it in the digital age, because everyone has to be a leader now, that it's so much of leadership is performative.
Sure.
And that's not great.
It sucks, because there's a lot of people who I think would be great leaders, but they don't want to be in that role, in that position, because of what leaders are thought of now. And the fact that there's more, it's kind of back to you want to work with good companies, because good companies will bring good companies.
Yeah. And that's getting harder and harder to do, by the way.
Sure.
And part of that, again, the technology thing, technology that removes people. I think that there's so much people are adding so much technology to the intellectual supply chain that they just forget that people are still a part of this conversation, and they just get lost in it. Sure. And it becomes about us. Like, it becomes about, like, am I getting enough credit for being a leader? Am I getting enough credit for making all the decisions? And that's a ridiculous way to approach anything. But I think, like, social media and all this other stuff kind of puts a precedent on making sure that it's about you.
Right. Very narcissistic society that we have created. And I mean, I get it, right? Like, it's not all of a sudden just because of social media that we have a ton of people who are very self-serving and want the spotlight. But it seems to be ramping up a lot, because you've got influencers and people that are just in front of your face, right?
And I think the less we need each other, the worse the world is going to get.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I think about that all the time in business, because so many people want to replace decisions with technology. How many times have you been asked, like, if you're going to schedule a meeting with someone, they give you their Calendarly link. They don't even take the time to talk to you about when the best time to meet is. It's just like, here's my Calendarly link. Look for a gap in my schedule and fill it.
Yeah.
I find that to be insulting. I know it's pretty commonplace, but I really do find it to be like, this is not a person I want to meet with anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is someone who's just filling their day.
Sure.
And they've got this technology that does it.
Sure.
I don't know why I just thought of that, but I did.
I am so glad that I didn't send you my Calendly link because I do use it, but it's from an efficiency perspective. But to your point, though, I don't use it very often. I'm just like, hey, here's a couple of times. Like, it just, yeah, to your point, it seems like it's so, it creates this giant gap between, like, I actually don't really care if we meet or not, so just put something on my calendar that works for you.
Yeah, and it feels like that to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that there's an underlying philosophy there of, well, this makes my life easier.
Yeah.
But ultimately, all that we've become in that situation is we're just managing dashboards and notifications. And how much time do you spend in your day managing or gamifying your life?
Yeah.
And then how much of your life are you actually living and in control of, you know? And I've taken a default setting where I can. It's not always possible, but if someone calls me and says, let's set up a Zoom meeting, I'll often say, no, I don't do Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
I just don't do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of think the right people rise to the occasion, and they'll meet you in person or they'll call you on the phone like a normal person. And I really try to do that as much as I can. And I beg people who are in positions of power or leadership or whatever to be like, if you have the power to change something, take the risk and do it. Don't meet with your staff on Slack or Zoom. Call a meeting. Do it, because it's going to mean way more, you know? I know it takes more time, but it's going to be more productive. It's going to be more memorable. I don't know.
I like that.
Do as much of that as you can.
I like that. Well, drop a comment in the thing here, and what's your opinion on Calendly and Zoom meetings
And Slack,
and Slack?
the scourge of society.
Yeah. Give me a time machine. I'm going back in time to slap the guy who created Slack.
Yeah.
No, it's in the realm of efficiencies, and I'm sure people will tote that. And even for me, there is some semblance of, like, you know, trying to be efficient, but at the end of the day, it's about being human, and we need to hang on to that as much as we possibly can, in my opinion.
Yes, no, I agree. We use Slack. Everyone uses Slack, but I find that Slack lets everyone be on their own schedule.
Mm-hmm.
No one has to be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
And even though it might not be intentional, I think so much digital communication can come off as passive aggressive because there's just no context. There's no inflection.
Yeah.
It's just, I need this. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's passive aggressive, whether we want to admit it or not. And it just puts everyone in a different place. And I don't think anything good is accomplished on a mass scale that way.
I agree. No, that's good. Good thoughts on that, my friend.
Should we start an anti-technology podcast too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Analog. But we couldn't. We'd have to write it down and then publish.
We couldn't record it.
Yeah, we can't.
And we couldn't disseminate it via technology.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for allowing me to, pop your proverbial podcast cherry. You did phenomenal. I really enjoyed getting to, kind of peek inside the brain of Cory Skaaren and understand a lot more about, notebooks. I never imagined that I'd be so enthralled by something so simple as a notebook, but you guys have taken a simple thing and really made it unique, fun, and artistic. And I love it.
Well, thank you. We're very proud of the work we do at Resketch.
Yes. As far as, people being able to connect, with you, if they really liked what you are about, how can they connect with you? How can they connect with your, your socials or your ability to, your website for Skaaren Design?
Yep.
What are the spots you want people to go to?
Well, I am blessed with a rare last name. So if you type Cory Skaaren into a search engine or Skaaren Design, you're going to find me.
Okay. Okay.
So it's Cory Skaaren, at Cory Skaaren on Instagram. And if you find me there, there's links to Skaaren Design and there's links to Resketch. And
Yes.
It's all there.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're gonna throw up some of the links here on the YouTube channel as well as the other podcast stuff as well. So please go follow Cory. Please, at the very least, go and check out Resketch. Get yourself a notebook. Get a couple of them because they are just phenomenal. And then also, if you are a business or you are an organization that's looking to maybe take your business to the next level, but you need some help, Cory and his team are definitely the folks to reach out to and connect with. And then also for the Arizona Institute of Graphic Artists?
The Arizona chapter of the American Institute of Graphic Arts.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. If you're thinking about potentially getting plugged in and want to be more involved, what's the website for AIGA?
Well, the national site is aiga.org.
Okay,
And the local site is aigaaz.org.
perfect. Awesome. Well, go check it out as well. But again, Cory, thank you so much, my friend, for sitting down. I think we can definitely crop up a second episode because there's so much more to uncover in the realm of just conversation. And
Did we beat the record?
Yes, we are at. Yeah, we're well into it. It gives me like the seconds. I don't have a full minute counter, but yeah, I think we're at the record, and if not, I will just I will add on just
some blank space.
Yeah. So you can
Okay.
have the record as your first. I love that you're competitive in that realm.
Well, I'm famous for being a talker,
Yeah. Okay.
so I don't want my friends to see a short podcast. It has to be a long podcast.
You want them to listen to the entire thing. Well, perfect. Hey, thank you everybody so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please go like and subscribe, of course. But, additionally too, if you know anybody out there that's living a legendary life, they don't have to be famous. They don't have to be, somebody that's a celebrity. I prefer if they weren't, just somebody up to big things in life, somebody who's out there giving back to their community or somebody who's overcome adversity. But thank you again so much for watching. This has been a Legends of Zegen episode with my friend Cory Skaaren. And with that, we are out. Thanks, Cory.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.